The report was produced following a countrywide review mission by 18 governance experts from 11 African states last year. It is structured along 4 thematic areas of the Africa Peer Review Mechanism, or APRM, which are democracy and political governance, economic governance and management, corporate governance, and socio-economic development. The APRM Forum's summit reviewed how Namibia is faring in these, as well as gave recommendations on how to improve where needed.
The country review report is really done by the Continental Secretariat with their experts based on our country self-assessment report, from which the facts are now going to be validated, whether we were fair, whether we were factual, and whether we are not just singing praises for ourselves. The report has been well received by the heads of state. It covers quite a number of areas in terms of governance, and even the Continental Secretariat praised Namibia for the openness, for the way they were received, where they were how they were assisted both at national, regional, and local government levels.
Namibia will now have to develop its national program of action to address the concerns raised in the report.
Some of the recommendations from that report would be, for example, to look at our process of decentralization. Came out very clear, even with the consultations in the region, that the process is somehow slow, and some would want to attach it to the devolution. Now, every country has got their own peculiar situations on the basis of which they want to decentralize those powers, activities. The other problem, of course, with decentralization is also the issue of staffing and the issue of sufficient funds to the regions and the local governments in order for them to be able to implement those decentralized activities. The other issue is also the relationships between the 3 tiers of governance, the executive, the legislature, and the parliament, in order to look at to avoid interference, so to say. Now that also, in terms of governance, government will now see how best to handle that. In our situation, of course, it is clear that there is no interference in the powers of any of those governance structures.
Some of the findings the Namibian government says may, however, not be accurate, as the report was conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic and may not be supported by empirical evidence.
In crafting the National Plan of Action, we will undergo the same process as we did with our country self-assessment report. So we will most probably have a consultant that will be able to help us technically lifting those recommendations, formulate them into a plan of action, and then we will call for consultative meetings involving all the stakeholders in order to allow them to look into those recommendations, whether they have been accommodated because they were consulted in bringing the report about, but also to see that the stakeholders play certain roles. So it's not just a government issue.